From Robin Williams appearing completely naked on set to make Pam Dawber laugh, to a Brazilian remake featuring a time-traveling dinosaur character, the behind-the-scenes world of Mork Mindy was wilder than anything that aired on television. This beloved alien sitcom hid dark secrets, bizarre casting stories, and production mishaps that would make even an Orkan blush, including the shocking reason Jonathan Winters was hired and why scripts literally said, "Robin will do something here." Fact 1. Robin's naked surprise attacks. Robin Williams had a very unusual way of keeping things interesting on the set of Mork and Mindy, and it involved absolutely no clothing whatsoever. According to producer Gary Marshall and multiple cast members, Williams would regularly strip completely naked and walk into scenes while Pam Dawber was trying to deliver her lines, with his sole mission being to catch her off guard and make her break character on camera. This wasn't just a one-time prank or accident during the show's 4-year run from 1978 to 1982. Williams made it his personal goal to get a reaction out of his co-star, and apparently nudity was his weapon of choice. Gary Marshall revealed that Williams would take off all his clothes, stand completely naked, and then try to act normally while Dawber attempted to stay in character and continue with the scene. The goal was simple but effective. Williams wanted to make Pam Dawber blush, and according to everyone involved, he usually succeeded. Dawber herself later confirmed these stories, describing Williams as doing the nastiest things on set, though she made it clear she never took offense and understood it was all part of his manic, unpredictable comedic energy. What makes this even more remarkable is that Williams apparently timed these naked appearances perfectly to catch Dawber at the most inappropriate moments during filming. The cast and crew became so accustomed to Williams's antics that it became just another day at the office, though Dawber's reactions were genuine every single time. Producer Gary Marshall later called Williams's behavior part of his mission in life to make Pam Dawber blush. And by all accounts, Fact 2. The upside-down audition genius. Robin Williams landed the role of Mork in one of the most unconventional auditions in television history, and it all came down to a simple instruction that he interpreted in the most unexpected way possible. When producer Gary Marshall asked Williams to take a seat during his audition for the alien character, Williams did exactly that, except he sat in the chair completely upside down with his head where his bottom should have been. This wasn't Williams trying to be difficult or show off. It was simply his instant interpretation of how an alien might respond to such a basic human request. At the time, Williams was largely unknown and had been making a living performing comedy on street corners in San Francisco, literally passing a hat for tips from passers-by. Marshall had initially thought the idea of centering a television show around such a street performer was completely ridiculous. However, Marshall's sister had seen Williams performing at a comedy club and was so impressed with his alien-themed act that she insisted her brother meet this unusual comedian. When Marshall agreed to the meeting, he walked into his office to find Williams sitting on his couch, upside down on his head. And when Williams noticed him, he stood up and began pretending to drink a glass of water with his finger. Marshall was so impressed by Williams's natural alien behavior that he cast him on the spot, later famously commenting that Williams was the only alien who auditioned for the role. The producer realized that Williams didn't need to act like an alien, because he already possessed that otherworldly quality naturally, making him perfect for the character of Mork from the planet Ork. This spontaneous upside-down moment launched Williams into television stardom and created one of the most beloved alien characters in sitcom history. Fact 3. Scripts with blank Robin spaces. The writers of Mork and Mindy developed a completely unique approach to scriptwriting that had never been seen before in television, and it was all because of Robin Williams's incredible improvisational abilities. Instead of writing out every single line of dialogue like a normal sitcom, the writers would intentionally leave blank spaces in the scripts with simple notes that read, "Robin will do something here," giving Williams complete freedom to create whatever he wanted in those moments. This unusual writing method came about because the producers quickly realized that Williams's spontaneous creativity was far more entertaining than anything they could write for him ahead of time. The scripts for Mork and Mindy were actually shorter than those used for Happy Days. the show that had spawned the Mork character, specifically to accommodate Williams's need for improvisation space. However, there was a major problem with this approach that most viewers never knew about. While Williams's improvisations were often brilliant and hilarious, many of his actual spontaneous lines were far too edgy and inappropriate for general television audiences in the late 1970s and early 1980s. The content standards for family television were much stricter back then, and Williams's unfiltered comedy often crossed those boundaries. To solve this issue, the show employed a large team of writers whose job was to create what they called fake ad-libs, or pre-written spontaneous lines that sounded like Williams's natural improvisation but were actually carefully crafted to be suitable for broadcast television. These scripted improvisations would then replace Williams's actual spontaneous material during the editing process, creating the illusion that viewers were seeing his real improvisation when they were actually watching sanitized versions written by the show's team of writers. This behind-the-scenes process allowed the show to capture Williams's manic energy while keeping the content appropriate for family viewing. Fact 4. The Brazilian Dinosaur Time Traveler. In 1979, Brazil's largest television network, Rede Globo, created their own version of Mork and Mindy called Super Bronco, and the adaptation was so bizarre that it made the original alien premise seem completely normal by comparison. The Brazilian version starred comedian Ronald Golias as a character named Carlo Bronco Dinossauro, which literally translates to Carlo Bronco Dinosaur, and instead of being an alien from another planet, he was apparently some sort of time-traveling dinosaur character. Ronald Golias was already a well-established comedian in Brazil who had been performing the character of Bronco since 1955, first on radio and then in various television shows and movies. When the success of Mork and Mindy reached Brazil, the network decided to adapt the format using Golias's existing Bronco character, but they somehow managed to create something even more confusing than an alien studying human behavior. The show featured Golias alongside actress Lisa Vieira, and the scripts were written by Carlos Alberto de Nobrega and Lula Torres, with direction by Herval Rossano. Despite the completely nonsensical premise, Super Bronco actually became quite popular with Brazilian audiences and was among the 10 highest-rated television programs in Brazil during 1979. Unfortunately for fans of the show, Super Bronco lasted only one season with 29 episodes before being canceled. Even though it had achieved significant ratings success, the show aired on Sunday evenings and featured guest appearances from various Brazilian actors, but the exact details of how a time-traveling dinosaur character was supposed to relate to the original Mork and Mindy concept remain largely mysterious. This strange adaptation stands as one of the most unusual international versions of an American television show ever created, proving that sometimes cultural translation can produce results that are far weirder than the original source material. Fact 5. Mork's Impossible Age Mystery. The character of Mork created one of the most confusing continuity problems in television history, and the writers never bothered to explain how it was even possible for him to exist in two different time periods, while supposedly aging backwards like all Orkans. When Mork first appeared on Happy Days in the episode called My Favorite Orkan in February of 1978, he was visiting Milwaukee in the 1950s, which was the standard time setting for that show. However, when Mork and Mindy premiered later that same year, the action took place in the present day of the late 1970s in Boulder, Colorado, meaning that somehow Mork had traveled forward in time by about 20 years. This would have been fine if not for one major problem that the show established early on. Orkans age backwards, starting as elderly beings and growing younger as time passes. According to the show's own internal logic, if Mork had truly aged backwards over those 20 years, between his Happy Days appearance and his Mork and Mindy adventures, he should have looked noticeably younger in the later series. Instead, Robin Williams appeared to be exactly the same age in both time periods, creating a massive plot hole that sharp-eyed fans noticed immediately. The writers of Mork and Mindy established the backwards aging concept specifically to explain why Jonathan Winters could play Mork's newborn son as a fully grown elderly man in the fourth season, but they completely ignored how this aging process should have affected Mork himself over the decades. When the show went into syndication, the producers actually filmed an additional scene for the original Happy Days episode, where Mork explains that he erased everyone's memory and was traveling to 1978 to continue his mission. But this still didn't address the aging inconsistency that remains unexplained to this day. Fact 6. The Male Pregnancy Horror Show. During the fourth season of Mork and Mindy, the writers created what is arguably one of the most bizarre pregnancy storylines in television history, and it involved the male alien character carrying and laying an actual egg that grew to enormous proportions. After Mork and Mindy got married at the beginning of the season, the show revealed that due to different Orkan physiology, it was Mork who became pregnant rather than his human wife, leading to a series of events that defied all logic and biological understanding. The pregnancy storyline began with Mork experiencing what appeared to be morning sickness and strange cravings, but instead of a normal 9-month gestation period, his alien pregnancy lasted only about a month. When it came time to give birth, Mork didn't deliver a baby in any conventional sense, but instead laid a small egg that was roughly the size of a chicken egg, complete with the process creating a belly button that he claimed he had never possessed before. However, the weirdness was just getting started, because the egg didn't stay small for very long. Within less than 24 hours, the egg had grown so large that Mork could sit on it like a nest, and it continued expanding until it was too big to fit through their bedroom door and measured over 6 feet in height. The rapid growth meant that Mork and Mindy had to move the giant egg multiple times as it outgrew each location in their apartment. When the massive egg finally hatched, instead of a baby or even a child, out stepped Jonathan Winters as a fully grown middle-aged man named Mirth, who was supposed to be their newborn son. The show explained this by claiming that Orkans age backwards, starting as elderly adults and growing younger over time, which somehow justified having a famous 57-year-old comedian play an infant character. Fact 7. Jonathan Winters played 2 characters. Jonathan Winters created one of the most confusing family relationships in television history when he appeared on Mork and Mindy as 2 completely different characters who were technically related to the same person in impossible ways. Before becoming the famous Mirth in the 4th season, Winters had already appeared in a 3rd season episode called Mork and the Family Reunion as Dave McConnell, who was established as Mindy's uncle and the older brother of her father Fred. This earlier appearance showed Winters playing a completely normal human character who was part of Mindy's extended family, with no connection whatsoever to aliens or the planet Ork. Dave McConnell was portrayed as Fred's miserly older brother, who had family conflicts and personal issues that were entirely earthbound and ordinary, making him just another member of Mindy's complicated family tree. However, when the show's creators decided to add Winters to the regular cast in the 4th season, they completely ignored his previous character and instead made him Mirth, the bizarre alien offspring of Mork and Mindy, who hatched from a giant egg as a fully grown middle-aged man. This meant that Winters was now playing Mindy's stepson, since she had married Mork and become Mirth's adoptive mother according to Orkan family customs. The mathematical impossibility of this relationship becomes clear when you realize that Jonathan Winters was simultaneously both Mindy's uncle through his Dave McConnell character and her stepson through his Mirth character, creating a family dynamic that defied all logic and biology. The show never acknowledged this contradiction or attempted to explain how the same actor could play 2 different relatives of the same character, apparently hoping that viewers would simply forget about Dave McConnell's existence once Mirth arrived on the scene. Fact 8. Raquel Welch's Diva Meltdown. Raquel Welch's guest appearance on Mork and Mindy in the 2nd season 2-part episode, Mork vs. the Necrotons, became legendary among the cast and crew, but not for the reasons anyone hoped. as the international movie star caused complete chaos during filming with her demanding behavior and unprofessional attitude. Welch played Captain Nirvana, the leader of an alien race, called the Necrotons, who were enemies of Mork's home planet Ork. And she was supposed to bring glamour and star power to the struggling second season of the show. However, from the moment Welch arrived on set, she created problems that disrupted the entire production schedule and frustrated everyone involved in making the episodes. According to casting director Joel Thurm, Welch spent excessive amounts of time in hair and makeup, far longer than was necessary or scheduled, which delayed filming and kept the rest of the cast and crew waiting for hours while she perfected her appearance. The situation got even worse when Welch began refusing to wear certain costumes that had been specifically designed for her character, forcing the costume department to scramble and create alternatives that would meet her approval. She also stayed in her trailer much longer than was typical for guest stars, creating additional delays and tension on what was normally a well-organized set. The most remarkable part of this entire ordeal came after filming was completed, when the cast and crew threw a small farewell party for Welch, as was customary for guest stars. During this gathering, Welch approached Thurm and the producers with what he later described as a moment that was both very funny and very true to her character, saying directly to them, "Look, I know I've been a bit of a pain in the arse, but wasn't I worth it?" Her complete lack of self-awareness about how her behavior had affected everyone made the comment both frustrating and oddly endearing to the people who had endured her demanding presence. Fact 9. The cartoon that shouldn't exist. In 1982, ABC decided to create an animated version of Mork and Mindy that was so bizarre and unnecessary that it defied all logic, featuring a teenage version of Mork attending high school alongside a six-legged pink alien pet named Doing, which was pronounced Doing, and somehow made the already strange premise even more confusing. This animated series was part of a larger Saturday morning cartoon block called the Mork and Mindy / Laverne and Shirley / Fonz Hour, which combined characters from 3 completely different sitcoms into one chaotic programming experiment. The cartoon was produced by both Hanna-Barbera Productions and Ruby Spears Enterprises working together with Paramount Television, and it featured Robin Williams and Pam Dawber actually returning to voice their animated counterparts, along with Conrad Janis reprising his role as Mindy's father Fred. The animated version completely ignored the established storyline of the live-action series and instead presented Mork and Mindy as high school students, with Mork being sent to Earth by Orson to observe teenage human behavior while enrolled in a local school. The most ridiculous addition to this cartoon was Mork's alien companion, a pink dog-like creature with 6 legs that followed him around and was supposed to be his pet from the planet Ork. The character of Doing was voiced by Frank Welker, who was famous for voicing animal characters in cartoons. But even his talent couldn't make this bizarre creation make sense within the Mork and Mindy universe. The show lasted only 1 season with 13 episodes, airing as part of the larger programming block that also included animated versions of Laverne and Shirley and the Fonz from Happy Days. This cartoon represents one of the strangest attempts to extend a sitcom's life through animation, creating a version that was somehow even more surreal than the original alien premise. Fact 10. Jane Fonda's secret near miss. Jane Fonda was originally cast to play the villainous Captain Nirvana in the 2-part Mork and Mindy episode, Mork vs. the Necrotons, but her last-minute departure from the project led to one of the most problematic guest star experiences in the show's history. Fonda, who was at the height of her fame in the late 1970s as both an Academy Award-winning actress and a prominent political activist, had agreed to take on the role of the alien bounty hunter who leads the Necroton forces against Mork and his home planet of Ork. The character of Captain Nirvana was specifically written as a glamorous and powerful alien villain who would use unusual torture techniques and command a team of beautiful alien guards in their mission to extract information from Mork about Earth's weaknesses. The role was designed to be a major guest star opportunity that would bring serious star power to the struggling second season of the show, which was already facing declining ratings and network pressure to improve its appeal. However, just before filming was scheduled to begin, Fonda was forced to back out of the commitment due to scheduling conflicts with other projects in her busy career. This created a major crisis for the production team, who had already built the entire two-part episode around having a major movie star in the central villain role, and now needed to find a replacement quickly without delaying the filming schedule. The casting directors scrambled to find another high-profile actress who could fill Fonda's shoes, and they ultimately settled on Raquel Welch, who was available and willing to take on the role. However, this casting change proved to be a disaster for everyone involved, as Welch's demanding behavior and unprofessional attitude during filming created chaos on set and turned what should have been a prestigious guest appearance into a nightmare experience for the cast and crew. Fact 11. The 3 Million Boulder House. The house used for exterior shots of Mindy's home in Mork and Mindy has become one of the most valuable pieces of television real estate in history, transforming from a modest Boulder, Colorado property into a multi-million-dollar landmark that represents one of the most dramatic real estate appreciation stories connected to any TV show. Located at 1619 Pine Street, just a few blocks from Boulder's famous Pearl Street Mall, this ordinary-looking house was purchased by its owners in 1974 for $80,000, which was a reasonable price for a nice home in Boulder at that time. When the producers of Mork and Mindy were scouting locations for the show, they chose Boulder partly because producer Gary Marshall had a niece attending the University of Colorado, and the city seemed like the perfect place for an alien to observe typical American life. The house at 1619 Pine Street was selected to represent Mindy's family home, where she lived with her father Fred and grandmother Cora, and where Mork would take up residence in the attic apartment. During the show's 4-year run from 1978 to 1982, the house appeared in countless exterior shots and became instantly recognizable to millions of viewers who watched Mork arrive in his egg-shaped spacecraft and integrate into suburban American life. The show even used the actual address of 1619 Pine Street as Mindy's official address in episodes, making the connection between the real house and the fictional setting completely authentic. By June of 2024, this same house had been valued at $3.1 million, representing an increase of nearly 4,000% from its original purchase price 50 years earlier. The house has never been sold since that original 1974 purchase, making it one of the longest-held properties connected to a major television series and a testament to both Boulder's booming real estate market and the lasting impact of the show's popularity. Fact 12. Robin's awkward celebrity interview. In one of the most surreal episodes of Mork and Mindy, the show created a completely meta storyline, where the character of Mork actually meets and interviews the real Robin Williams, leading to bizarre scenes where Williams had to voice both himself and his alien character while addressing their uncanny physical resemblance. The episode, titled Mork Meets Robin Williams, aired during the 3rd season in February of 1981 and was designed to address the obvious fact that Mork looked exactly like a famous comedian who was becoming increasingly well-known due to the success of the very show he was appearing on. The storyline begins when Mindy brings home a record album of Robin Williams' comedy routine called Reality. What a concept! And notices that Mork bears a striking resemblance to the comedian pictured on the album cover. Mork initially denies any similarity and doesn't understand why people keep chasing him around Boulder, calling him by the name Robin, assuming that confused fans have discovered he's an alien and are using some kind of disgusting Orkan insult word. When Williams the comedian comes to Boulder to perform a live show, Mork finally agrees to meet him, leading to scenes where Williams had to perform as both characters simultaneously through the magic of television editing and body doubles. The episode becomes even more unusual when Mork interviews the real Robin Williams, with Williams essentially having a conversation with himself while playing two completely different personalities who happen to share the same face and voice. According to the show's creators, this episode was specifically designed to help fans understand the difference between Robin Williams the comedian and Mork the alien character, as Williams felt it was important for his audience to distinguish between his real personality and his television creation. The technical challenges of filming scenes where Williams appeared as both characters required careful planning and creative camera work to make the illusion believable. Fact 13. The alcohol conspiracy that never was. The writers of Mork Mindy originally planned one of the most shocking plot twists in sitcom history, involving the seemingly harmless character of Mr. Bickley and a dark conspiracy that would have completely changed how viewers understood the entire series. Franklin Delano Bickley, played by Tom Poston, was Mindy's downstairs neighbor who appeared to be nothing more than a grumpy greeting card writer with a serious drinking problem. But the show's creators had much more sinister plans for this character that never made it to television. During the first season, the writers developed a long-term storyline where Mr. Bickley would eventually be revealed as the Threat, a dangerous alien operative who had been secretly monitoring Mork's activities on Earth while pretending to be an ordinary human resident of Boulder. The character's constant drinking and alcoholic behavior was supposed to be an elaborate disguise, with Bickley using alcohol consumption as a way to maintain his cover and appear like a typical troubled human rather than an alien spy. This storyline would have explained why Bickley always seemed to be around when strange things happened in the building, and why he never seemed particularly surprised by Mork's bizarre behavior, even though he was supposedly unaware that his upstairs neighbor was an extraterrestrial. The reveal was planned to show that Bickley's drinking was actually a carefully calculated performance designed to make him seem harmless and uninteresting to both Mork and any other potential alien visitors to Earth. However, ABC network executives became concerned about the implications of having a character whose alcoholism was portrayed as fake, worrying that this might send the wrong message about addiction and drinking problems to their family audience. The network ultimately forced the writers to abandon the entire storyline and tone down Bickley's drinking behavior, much to the disappointment of Tom Poston, who had been looking forward to the dramatic character development and the opportunity to play a villain. Fact 14. The cocaine era's dark shadow. Behind the manic energy and brilliant improvisations that made Mork and Mindy such a success, Robin Williams was battling a serious cocaine addiction that developed during the show's run and was fueled by the intense pressures of sudden stardom and the demanding television production schedule. Williams had gone from performing comedy on street corners in San Francisco for tips to becoming one of the most recognizable faces on television almost overnight, and this dramatic lifestyle change created stress and temptations that he struggled to handle in healthy ways. The success of Mork and Mindy catapulted Williams into a level of fame that was almost unprecedented for a television actor at that time, with the show reaching 60 million viewers at its peak and making Williams a genuine cultural phenomenon. This sudden celebrity status meant that he was constantly in demand for interviews, appearances, and other commitments that added to his already exhausting filming schedule, leaving him with little time to process or adjust to his new reality. Williams later spoke openly about how cocaine became a way for him to cope with the relentless pace of his career and the pressure to constantly be on and entertaining for everyone around him. The drug seemed to enhance his natural comedic abilities and give him the energy to keep up with the demands of starring in a weekly television series, while also maintaining his stand-up comedy career and pursuing film opportunities. The addiction became serious enough that it affected his work and personal relationships, though Williams managed to keep his struggles largely hidden from the public. During the show's original run from 1978 to 1982, it wasn't until years later that Williams began discussing his substance abuse issues openly, describing this period as a time when the pressures of fame and the entertainment industry nearly destroyed his life and career. Fact 15. The navel that broke continuity. During the fourth season pregnancy storyline of Mork and Mindy, the writers created one of the most glaring continuity errors in television history when they had Mork claim that developing a belly button was proof of his alien pregnancy, completely ignoring the fact that he had clearly displayed his navel to viewers in previous episodes. In the episode 3 The Hard Way, when Mork tries to convince a skeptical Mindy that he has actually laid an egg and become a father, He points to his newly formed navel as evidence that his story is true, explaining that he never had a belly button before because Orkans are grown in test tubes rather than being born naturally. This dramatic reveal was supposed to be a pivotal moment that convinced both Mindy and the audience that Mork's bizarre pregnancy story was legitimate, with the appearance of his navel serving as undeniable physical proof that something extraordinary had happened to his alien physiology. The writers treated this as a major plot point that would resolve Mindy's disbelief and move the storyline forward, making it clear that they expected viewers to accept this as definitive evidence of Mork's transformation. However, eagle-eyed fans who had been watching the show since its beginning immediately spotted the massive problem with this supposed proof. In the first season episode, A Mommy for Morky, which aired in 1978, Mork had deliberately shown his belly button to Mindy during a conversation, completely contradicting his later claim that he had never possessed one before his pregnancy. This continuity error became even more obvious when fans began reviewing episodes from the early seasons and discovered that Mork's navel was clearly visible in multiple scenes throughout the show's run, making his fourth season claim about developing it impossible to believe. The mistake highlighted how the writers had either forgotten their own established character details or simply hoped that viewers wouldn't remember specific moments from episodes that had aired several years earlier.